Let's welcome in Andy Sweeney, does radio in Kentucky. Andy, I want to ask you about Ellis. What's Arkansas getting in their latest transfer commitment?
Oh, fellas, good morning. I'm telling you, Ellis is a fascinating player. He came to Louisville as a JUCO. He kind of had an all right year under Chris Mack. Chris Mack, kind of a weasel. And then this year really became the leader of the team. And I'll say this, and I know we've talked Ty privately, the thing about this year in evaluating anybody, including Ellis, who was by far the best player on a terrible team last year for Ville, is that U of L was so bad. Guys, they were so bad. They won 4 games, right? I mean, you guys saw them at the beginning of the season with Arkansas, and they got a little bit better where they quit losing games by 30 and 40, and they simply lost by 15 and 10. But they were a terrible team. So Ellis was the team last year. If Ellis played average, if he played poorly, Louisville didn't stand a chance. So Ellis became basically everything to this team where, if he was playing out of position is something we can talk about. I know he tweeted out yesterday how, he's a point guard and everything. Maybe Louisville wanted him to be more of a 2, and I think there is a battle there. I think he's not a true 1. I think he's severely undersized at the 2. It does not mean he's not effective. But at Louisville last year, if you guys just box score look, you can see that he's playing 37, 38, 39. He played the entire game. So Arkansas's getting a guy last year that was in true dysfunction. They're getting the guy last year that the coaching staff didn't know where to play him, but they're getting the guy as well who is streaky and who's a good basketball player and who now goes to Arkansas. And I know Arkansas has 32 guards where he doesn't have to do everything. And so you're getting a player where I'm super interested how he reacts to not having to play 39 minutes and score 20-plus points to keep a team in the game.
Andy, you just mentioned the guards that Arkansas have. How is that going to work with Ellis? What have you learned about him as a teammate? He didn't really have that luxury in Louisville, but is he going to be able to adjust to not scoring 20-plus a night at sometimes?
Well, here's what I would think. This would be my guess. Now, I haven't seen, obviously, and you guys know the guard situation at Arkansas. To me, it would seem like a relief to me. Last year, so much was put on Ellis that, listen, Kenny Payne here at Louisville might end up being a good coach, and he is building a team this year that is much more of what he wants. But last year, he was a terrible coach. Like, Kenny Payne and his staff did a terrible job. They did a terrible job getting talent. They did a terrible job during the season to win 4 bleeping games. They did, it's an F. If Kenny Payne weren't a beloved guy here who won a national title back in the 80s, guys, there'd be no reason that I would say, oh, yeah, let's keep him around for a year, 2, and 3, and 4, and everything else. How this works out, Ellis is going from nothing to something. And he's going from Kenny Payne, who right now has not proven to be a good coach, okay, to Eric Musselman, who, last year, second weekend, the years before, back-to-back Elite Eight, plus Arkansas the last couple of years. I don't have to tell you guys, has had success at the guard position, right? And so it's not surprising to see maybe him mixing so many guards. To me, Al had to know what he was getting into. A bunch of other teams wanted him. It would have been teams where they would have been better than Louisville, but his job would have been a little bit more of what he did at Louisville than at Arkansas. But to me, reading between the lines, this is what he wants. It would be relief. He would be playing around other very good players. And on top of it, I don't think he wanted to go back to Louisville, and I don't think Louisville wanted him. And I don't think that was because of his play. I think it's because, guys, they could only sell this coming season as, hey, we're changing everything, given that we just won 4 bleeping games. That's how I see it.
Els from Durham, North Carolina, Ricky Council, who just transferred from Wichita State to Arkansas there from Well. And I know that NC State's in the running. By the way, we're talking with Andy Sweeney, 680 The Ville, does radio in Louisville. You had mentioned NC State being the possibility. Why do you think he picked the Razorbacks over the Wolfpack, choosing to stay far away from home than kind of going over to Raleigh, being close to home?
I mean, I think it's NIL. Don't you? I mean, I think it's clearly NIL. I mean, it might be fit, it might be Musselman, it might be. I mean, yeah, all those things matter. But Ellis is not an NBA player. Okay, I mean, you guys just had a backcourt that had a couple NBA players. Okay, I mean, he's not 6'7" like Anthony Black. He's not the prospect of Nick Smith, who you guys had last year. He's a very good college player. And to me, there's nothing wrong with that. That's the way I view Ellis. He's not a true one. Louisville tried to make him into it. He's 6'2"-ish, 6'3"-ish, depending on what you believe. And so he's not going to be a big high riser, right? And so to me, you got in a situation where he's not an NBA player. He put his name. He put his name in there, and obviously the reaction was the reaction. I mean, hey, you're not going to be drafted. You can start the pro route, but you're not going to be drafted. And then to me, it comes down to where can you showcase? Sure, okay, Arkansas guards makes a lot of sense. A good team. I mean, I think you guys do. I expect Arkansas to be there in the second weekend of the NCAA tournament this coming year, right? I mean, I do, and. You know, I think it comes down to NIL. I think Arkansas has been strong with that. That's how we talk about it here in Louisville, that Arkansas has been strong with NIL. And quite frankly, I think they had a better deal. And this is a guy that for 9 months, 10 months can maximize and make money, given that he's not a pro prospect. It's his chance over the next several months to make a nice chunk of change before he has to go out into the workforce in some sort of way. And I think Arkansas has a better deal. I think it's pretty much that simple.
Now, you referenced Chris Mack. I know at one point Eric Musselman rumors were floating around Louisville, Andy. What is the viewpoint on Muss in Kentucky, not just in Louisville, but Lexington as well?
Well, that's a great question. Okay, so Louisville fans, because they went through the Chris Mack fiasco, and because the first year of Kenny Payne, and listen, Kenny Payne may prove us all wrong here, but the first year just being as tragically bad. I mean, you know, if you win 13, 14 games, something respectable, win a couple big games, you know, don't lose all these early season games to bums and then go overseas and just lose to everybody, including Arkansas. Louisville fans really like Muss Bus. Okay, Louisville fans wanted Muss Bus. A healthy amount wanted Muss Bus, including Bruce Pearl. They wanted these guys because not everyone was in love with let's bring back Kenny Payne from the 1980s. And what you have here, guys, is you have a battle. You have some of the 1980 guys have felt left behind by the program during the Rick Pitino years. And so they were very vocal after Chris Mack fizzled out that we want our guy, and Kenny Payne was that guy. And so we have been dealing for the last 14 months in there being like a civil war between the Louisville fan base of fans that want Kenny Payne and then fans that don't want Kenny Payne because they want a guy who wins, who's got experience, and Muss Bus has always been one of those names. Plus, he hasn't had the most ridiculous buyout. I don't know where it's at now, but it has, some buyout for $15 million, right? He has to pay a ransom, and that can push teams away. As for Kentucky fans, Kentucky fans hate everybody. So that's your answer. Especially anybody that beats them, especially anybody that can beat them. And I think there's a nice little rivalry there. I think Kentucky fans have seen, and Muss is part of this, Nate Oates is part of this for sure. We'll see if any other guys, Chris Beard could be at Ole Miss. They've seen, Cal used to whine well, there should be more than 4 or 5 teams in the SEC that make the tournament. I mean, you remember just a few years ago, it was Kentucky and there was a couple others, and the SEC put, 4 teams in, and that was kind of it. And now, Cal got his wish, and now the SEC is full of a bunch of loaded teams with a bunch of loaded coaches. So I would say Louisville fans, they like must-bust. They have wanted must-bust at different times over the last couple years. And I think Kentucky fans have a respect for must-bust, but they also understand here, hey, you're going to be going against this guy, whether it be recruiting or twice a year. This is going to be one of the main guys you're going to have to deal with.
If you look at the transfer portal and recruiting rankings right now, top 2 teams, Kentucky's at 1, Arkansas's neck and neck at number 2. Andy, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for waking up early with us. Again, Andy Sweeney, 680 The Ville, radio there in Louisville. All the best to Louisville this season. Hopefully more than 4 wins, or I know that's how difficult that's going to be on air for you.
Yeah, well, if they do that, it might be coming from us. You better get that deal popping. Better get that Walmart money popping if they win another 4 games. Appreciate and enjoy Ellis. He's a good player. He's a streaky player, but he's a really fine player. And I mean, you load him up with 3 or 4 other guards. Arkansas is going to be good again. Appreciate it.